They thought they could walk in your anointing, wear your grace like a costume, mimic your energy, and receive your blessings. But something happened that they didn't anticipate. The moment they crossed that line, the moment they tried to duplicate what God placed inside you specifically, a switch flipped in the spiritual realm that cannot be reversed. You might not have seen it with your physical eyes, but the universe registered it. Heaven documented it. And now, consequences are unfolding in real time that you didn't ask for, didn't pray for, didn't manifest. Because when someone violates a chosen one, they're not just dealing with you anymore. They've initiated a confrontation with the very force that selected you before you took your first breath. What you're about to hear isn't theory. It's not motivation. This is a spiritual briefing about something that's already in motion. The wheels of divine justice don't move on your timeline. They move with precision, with purpose, and with a level of surgical accuracy that will leave you speechless when you finally see it. So if you've been wondering why you feel that strange peace lately, why you're no longer anxious about who wronged you, this is why. Most people live entire lifetimes without ever triggering divine intervention. They experience hardship, betrayal, loss, but the heavens remain silent because the spiritual mathematics haven't aligned. But you are not most people. There is a category of soul that exists under a different jurisdiction. And whether you fully understand it or not, you are one of them. When a chosen one is harmed, it's not just a human conflict. It becomes a cosmic violation. Because your life is tied to assignments that affect generations, to shifts that alter atmospheres, to missions that dismantle systems of darkness. Touching you is not like touching someone random. It's like putting hands on heaven's investment. And heaven protects its investments with ruthless precision. The reason you've survived things that destroyed others isn't luck. It's jurisdiction. The reason you've been covered in situations where you should have been exposed isn't coincidence. It's classification. You carry something that makes you untouchable by ordinary means. And when someone tries to bypass that covering, they don't just face you, they face the one who covers you. And that is a fight no human being can win. The spiritual realm has rules. And one of the oldest rules is this: harm what belongs to God, and God harms what belongs to you. There was a moment recently. You remember it even if you haven't spoken about it. Someone pushed you to a point where you had every right, every logical reason, every emotional justification to retaliate, to expose them, to destroy their reputation the way they tried to destroy yours. You had the receipts. You had the platform. You had the anger, but you didn't move. Not because you're weak, not because you're afraid, but because something inside you, something older and wiser than your emotions, told you to stand down. That was not passivity. That was obedience. And in that single moment of restraint, you made a decision that activated a level of spiritual authority most people never access in their entire lives. Because God was watching how you would handle injustice when you had the power to create injustice in return. He was measuring your heart in the fire, and you passed a test you didn't even know you were taking. What you think was silence was actually strategy. What felt like weakness was actually warfare. You withdrew from the battle because heaven was about to enter it. And when heaven steps into your fights, it doesn't just win. It rearranges the entire battlefield. They didn't know they were being watched, but everything happens in front of witnesses. When that person betrayed you, lied on you, stole from you, copied you, undermined you, there were forces in the room that they couldn't see. Angels documenting, demons celebrating, and God sitting in absolute silence, waiting to see what you would do. Because your response determined the response. If you had retaliated in the flesh, you would have forfeited the supernatural intervention. You would have handed your victory over to your ego and lost the backing of the Most High. But you didn't. You cried in private. You processed in silence. You felt everything but did nothing out of spite. And that is when the demonic celebration stopped. That is when the assignments against you were recalled. Because vengeance belongs to God, and the moment you released it to Him, He picked it up with both hands. Now they're feeling pressure they can't explain, experiencing losses they can't recover from, doors closing that used to be wide open, relationships crumbling that used to be solid, and they don't understand why. But you do, because you've seen this before. You know what happens when people come for the anointed and miss. Let's rewind the last 6 months of your life like a movie montage. That coworker who sabotaged your project and smiled in your face. You said nothing. That family member who betrayed your trust and played victim to others. You created distance, not drama. That friend who envied your progress and started moving in darkness behind your back. You removed yourself quietly. That ex who tried to rewrite history and paint you as the villain. You let them talk. That business partner who stole your idea and launched it as their own. You didn't sue, didn't blast them publicly, didn't seek revenge. You locked in and built something better. Every single time, you chose the high road when the low road was available, accessible, and justified. Every single time, you swallowed your pride, your rage, your need to be vindicated in front of people who wouldn't have blamed you for going off. And every single time, you deposited something into a spiritual account that has been accruing interest in realms you cannot see. You thought you were losing, but you were investing. There is a courtroom that exists beyond human jurisdiction. No lawyers, no judges in robes, just the Ancient of Days and a record of every deed done in the body. And recently, your case was called, not because you filed it, but because the offense reached a threshold that demanded divine attention. The accusations against you were presented. The evidence of betrayal was submitted. And then your response was entered into the record. Your restraint, your forgiveness, your refusal to repay evil for evil. And in that moment, the gavel fell. Judgment was rendered, not in your favor because you're perfect, but because you're covered. And now, the sentencing phase has begun. You're not going to see all of it. Some of it will be private, some of it will be public, but all of it will be thorough. They're losing sleep and don't know why. Losing money and can't figure out how. Losing peace and can't buy it back. Because when you come against someone under divine assignment, you don't just lose the battle. You lose access to the grace that was allowing you to function in the first place. And that is a terrifying place to be. You are not like them. And it's becoming more obvious with every passing day. There's a mark on you that others can sense, even when they can't see it. A frequency you operate on that makes counterfeit versions of you glitch when they try to copy it. You've noticed it. How people try to mimic your style, your voice, your business model, your energy, and it never lands the same way. Because what you carry is not transferable. It's embedded in your DNA by divine download. You didn't choose this, it chose you. And now you're starting to walk in the fullness of what that means. Protection that doesn't make logical sense. Favor that you didn't apply for. Opportunities that bypass the system and come straight to your door. Ideas that download in the middle of the night with blueprints already attached. This is not random. This is activation. You've been moved from one level of assignment to another, and the access you now have is reflective of the weight you've been willing to carry in silence. You are marked, you are covered, you are assigned, and you are untouchable by anything that doesn't have clearance from the throne. What's coming next is going to shock you, not because it's loud, but because it's precise. Doors you stopped knocking on are going to swing open without you touching them. People who owe you apologies are going to show up with more than words. Resources you needed 3 years ago are going to show up now, multiplied. But more than anything, you're going to experience a peace that makes no sense given what you just walked through. A lightness in your spirit, a clarity in your mind, a confidence in your step that wasn't there before. Because you've been realigned with your original frequency. The interference has been removed. The parasites have been cut off. The leeches have been exposed and expelled, and now you're operating in a clean lane with divine acceleration behind you. This is your season of restoration, not just of what was lost, but of what was delayed because you were carrying people and situations that had no business in your life. You're about to see why the process was necessary, why the pain had purpose, why the betrayal was actually preparation for this next level of blessing that requires you to be free, focused, and unattached to anything that would slow you down. You've been chosen for this, not just the blessing, but the test that came before it. And now you're re-standing on the other side with proof that God fights for those who refuse to fight dirty. So here's what you do next. You stand firm in this truth. You don't go back to old patterns of people-pleasing or shrinking yourself to make others comfortable. You walk in this new authority with humility, but without apology. If this message resonated with your spirit, if you felt the weight of confirmation in your chest, type 777 in the comments right now. That's not superstition. That's agreement with the divine alignment that's already in motion over your life. Subscribe to this channel because you're going to need these reminders as you walk into what's next. Share this with someone who's been fighting silent battles and choosing righteousness when revenge was easier. And finally, stay alert, because the enemy is about to try one more time to distract you, discourage you, or pull you back into old cycles. Don't fall for it. You've come too far. You've survived too much. And what God is about to do in your life requires you to be fully present, fully aligned, and fully convinced that you are exactly who He says you are. The chosen one. Walk like it.